sense of the world, to make sense of the world. World peace through individual inner strength. Inner strength. How? By feeling so good from the inside out, better than your morning would feel without good morning. Welcome back to another episode of the Best Feeling Podcast, the Best Feeling Network, your only no-nonsense podcast. With your host, Herbie, this is Pal Go On. Good morning, everyone. How art thou doing? Welcome back. Today is Monday, November 28th, 2022. I apologize for any inconvenience this green screen might be having right now. It's kind of giving us a little bit of difficulty, but it's all good. How are you doing? Thank you for coming through. I hope you're doing well out there. I hope you have been feeling so good from the inside out. If you haven't already, I hope you are prepared to be stretching our self-awareness like a muscle this morning in order to feel so integrated with the moment, in the present, and pushing forward through life feeling so great. Did you have a great weekend? Tell me you had a great weekend. I know you had a great weekend. Did you eat a lot of food? Thanksgiving was last week. Maybe you had some parties. Are you still feeling it? Are you still sleepy? We're here to energize you this morning. We're here to become independent of requiring the use of any kind of substance or alcohol or drug to create this energy that we all know that we have inside of us. We're here to get energized today and the rest of the week, every weekday here on Pal Go On. Today is Mover Monday, baby. It is November 28th, 2022, a Monday, which means it is a Mover Monday here on Pal Go On, where we will be discussing the relationship between ourselves and ourselves. The relationship between ourselves and ourselves. In this simulation of ours in which we die every 5 minutes, but that timer is reset with every breath that we take. We challenge you to hold that controller properly with us today by observing your sense of self while you pretend there's a candle in front of your lips that you're trying to not put out. You're not thinking about inhaling or exhaling necessarily, simply that there is a candle in front of your lips that you're trying to not put out as we let our body do the breathing for us. Today, we will be talking about the body's map of consciousness. The Body's Map of Consciousness, Volume 1, Movement by Lansing, Barrett, Gresham, and Julie J. Nichols. You might see this book on our recommended book reading list, either in the break or down there in the information about this video. This book it was basically the groundwork. It kind of set into motion all of this body mapping craze that we've been all about. So we're gonna go through it and talk a little bit about kind of how we were introduced to this and kind of the strength of it. We're gonna be taking some time to actually read some excerpts out of the book. I figure that's kind of a good way to get introduced to it. It's kind of like the same way I was introduced to it. And I know we're not all gonna go out and read the book, so here I am. Let me be the conduit. Let me be the messenger. And we're going to talk about we're going to be talking a little bit about some of the words that are in there. To start off, its fundamental principle for body mapping and integrated awareness is that every site on or in your physical structure is predisposed to resonate with one or more specific other levels of consciousness. Other body sites, emotions, thought patterns, and many other aspects of yourself, your physical movements or lack thereof, literally embody these resonances. Exploration of movement patterns can increase awareness of limiting rules and inhibitions, which can then lead to the possibility of choosing to move differently, to invite different behaviors, different thought patterns, different ways to respond to life experience, much more in keeping with your happiness and health. Many body mapping systems exist. This one, the Body's Map of Consciousness, empirically developed over 3 decades of direct experience and observations of tens of thousands of people, is built into you. And we believe that it is designed to be explored and verified by anyone with the willingness and curiosity to do so. If you've ever thought there must be more to life, then you are right. If any of this sounds interesting to you, stay tuned. We shall be discussing as we read along first couple of pages of this book, and we will be reflecting on it as we use some good old body magic tricks to feel so good from the inside out. Don't you love how this green screen is going crazy right now? We'll be using some good old body magic tricks to feel so good from the inside out. We hope you'll be joining us today here on Palgawan. Like pretending to, or like listening to the front of the shins as if they are the speakers of the world, spreading some of that sweet, sweet hearing awareness towards the front of your shins and seeing how that feels for you. It's like we're breathing in a green screen. We'll fix this green screen when we come back. All right. Welcome to another Mover Monday here on the Best Feeling Podcast, the Best Feeling Network, your only no-nonsense podcast. Let's get some energy this morning. Let's attack the new week that is coming up as we are slipping into December 2022. We'll be right back after this short break, but only if you're remembering to listen to the front of your shins. Right, welcome to a new episode of Palgo On. It is Mover Monday today. I want to thank you guys for being here. Thank you for being yourself, you beautiful time traveler, you, whether you're watching us right here, right now, or in the future somewhere in a video on demand, quote unquote, a VOD, you beautiful time traveler, you. Thank you for coming through. We're going to be talking about The Body's Map of Consciousness, Volume 1, Movement by Lansing, Barrett, Gresham, and Julie J. Nichols. Also in the recommended book reading list down below in the information about the video, or also in our little segment that we have that talks about our book reading list. Before we continue, let me fix this green screen. It's a little bit distracting. Let me do this. Bam. Whoa. What the? I turned invisible. How about now? Okay. Is that better? A little bit better, I think. Still very grainy. Let me take one more. Here, let me try this. Boom. Hello, I'm a ghost, and then boom. Okay. Is that better? I think it's better. Okay. All right, welcome back. My name is Herbie. This is the Best Feeling Podcast. The Best Feeling Network. Your only no-nonsense podcast. Palgo One. It is Mover Monday, so we'll be talking about the relationship between ourselves and ourselves this morning. Specifically, we're going to be reading some excerpts from one of our favorite books here. It really set the groundwork when I was searching for just a clear... It originally started off with me trying to fix my sleep apnea. Sleep apnea, for those of you who may not know, is a condition in which you basically go into fits of being unable to breathe while you sleep. whether that be through snoring. Well, it usually ends up sounding like snoring, but there are many causes for it. A few of them may be obesity. One of the reasons may be obesity. Another one may be some kind of body imbalance. Another one, it can be caused by a few other conditions. But when I was searching for a better way to breathe, way to fix my what they would call reverse breathing, using all the wrong muscles to breathe, inhaling when you're supposed to exhale, and exhale when you're supposed to be inhaling. No wonder there's confusion in the body. This book really set the groundwork. I was surprised to find. I wasn't even expecting to find something so comprehensive, so all-inclusive. But this book really talks a lot about the entire human experience, and I'm sure you've gone out there and read other books about the entire human experience. A lot of them to give you some kind of relief will talk about breathing exercises, or they'll talk about ways you should re-perspectivize your life, new ways to think about your life so that you can find more peace or find more happiness in life. But my issue with most of those books was that they would speak in very vague terms, in very kind of emotional terms, like just kind of feeding you what you want to hear. Like, there's nothing wrong with you. The world has no right to make you feel sad. Depression is all in your head. Very vague terms that kind of like sounded nice to your ears, like kind of give you what you want to hear, kind of validated your suffering, but didn't really offer any actionable way to get out of it besides repeating certain mantras that might make you feel better, like, I am worth it. What does that mean? Like, you're worth it to whom? And how many times can you say that, and are you really going to feel better? I didn't. I was like, I feel worth it. And then the second something didn't go my way in life, I was just like, I don't feel worth it anymore. So what do I do about it? Say it again? Yeah, keep saying it. And then nothing happened. You deserve this and you deserve better in your life. And then I got worse in my life. I was like, okay. I was like, all right, so do I deserve better or not? And if so, how come that better was not coming my way? There's a lot of vague kind of terminology, a lot of vague just like emotional massages to make you feel better, but nothing really actionable. It almost felt like all these books were too afraid to actually give you the hard truth, which is that you do have to make a choice, but what choice is that to feel better? In order to feel more balanced and to have your body feel weightless again, the way that you did when you were a godlike baby child thing, you godlike baby-like child thing. Nothing really felt actionable. It felt like everything was trying so hard to avoid putting any kind of pressure on you, because that might go against like the point of the book. A lot of these books felt like the point was just to like kind of like rock you like a baby and be like, nothing's wrong with you, you know, everything you want in life is you know, everything you need is right there. Okay, but it's kind of like it kind of crumples underneath the pressure when life actually hits you and you can't do anything about it. You're like, well, you just kind of end up feeling like a victim. Like, well, if I deserve all this stuff, then how come bad things keep happening to me? La 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 la. And just kind of encouraged you to close your ears to what was going on in order to feel better. But this book right here, kind of a different story. Immediately it jumps off the page with kind of some basic truths that felt so monumental and kind of objective in like a tough love kind of way that I couldn't ignore it any longer. So let me give you an example. One of the things that says right on the first page is Earth reality gives us this basic design. And then it goes on to list some basic objective truths that, unlike these other books, not only were these truths kind of resonant, but these truths were like all-encompassing and very hard ground truths, instead of being like, you should feel good about yourself. No, it starts to describe our reality as a whole, which immediately caught my attention. I was looking for something like this, as many of you out there might. Now, not everyone's going to be looking for this. That's okay. This podcast isn't going to be for everyone, but for those who are seeking more concrete answers so you can actually start taking control of change, looking for more concrete answers, and are like, no, don't baby me with these answers. Give me something I can actually work with. Don't baby me and obscure the truth just so that I can feel better. Give me some real truths. So it says, Earth reality gives us this basic design. Here we go. Time runs one way. How many inspirational books do you know actually talk about that? How many inspirational books are going to be talking about how time only runs one way? From the get-go. their awareness is not even on that, as their concern is mostly just like buttering you up, not talking about the reality that we live in, but the emotional state that you're in. I love this book because it talks about the reality that we live in and how to adjust towards it. How do we smooth into it? So it says time runs one way. Fantastic. True. Next, life forms become increasingly complex. True. If you think about all the way back to billions of years, we started off with like tiny organisms, maybe trillions of years. I started off with like these little micro single cell organisms, and then here we are today, these crazy complex beings that were able to create technology passed down from generation to generation to generation to create, first of all, language, and second of all, a language that could help us create things like this. The fact that you can watch me today on your machine made out of like parts from the earth, and using and leveraging waves in the air in order to actually make it to where we are today, using satellites. What the heck is a satellite to a single cell organism? So we're definitely more complex today than we were. Gravity pulls us towards the planet's core. True. It might not seem like this is important to our human experience, but keep listening. This is an absolute truth, right? It's not like, oh, here's some flowers, you should feel good about yourself. Oh, here's like a nice card to yourself reaffirming why the choices you made in life are good for you just because they made you feel emotionally good. Don't worry about the world and how you're affecting it or how it's affecting you. But no, we're starting off right away. Instead of talking about your emotionalism, so we're actually talking about some gigantic truths we live in. Gravity pulls us towards the planet's core. Next, all beings have gender. Just true, right? Okay, let's keep going. Like, this book is just listing off truths to like build trust with you. All are born and will die. Correct. All are born and then will die. If there's something that you can be sure of in your life, it's not that you will be happy forever. It's not that you'll be sad forever. Emotions are fleeting. Your situation with your boyfriend is fleeting. But one thing we can be sure of is that all are born and all will die. All these things and other elements exist in human experience to varying degrees of health and harmony, depending primarily on whether we are willing for energy to move or not. In other words, health and harmony are a function of choice. Your choices that you make are not just in this bubble, this vacuum where your emotions live. You're like, oh, I made this choice because I'm unsatisfied with the way that I view myself in life. But no, rather we live in a context where time runs one way, life forms become increasingly complex, and this includes you in your individual human experience, not just from amoebas to now, but in your individual experience, your body becomes more and more complex as you grow in age and as you experience the world. Gravity pulls us towards the planet's core. True. It's not just true because it's true, not because apples fall from the tree, but your body constantly confronts this truth every day just by getting out of bed, just by walking, just by keeping your shoulders up. Just by keeping your head up. Next, all beings have gender. True. Whether you like it or not. The truth is that your body was cast into... your soul was cast into a body which exists in this context. You are not the context. You exist within this context. That all beings have gender, and you are a being, and thus have a gender. A sex. All are born and all will die. True, you also live within this context. All the choices that you make, despite how insignificant they seem, even when you're relaxing watching Netflix, all these choices are made with all of these contexts in mind, whether we are aware of them consciously or not. We necessarily live in this context. Now, why is this significant to us? Well, we can learn to leverage the context that we live in order to make more meaningful choices, in order to switch the patterns of behaviors in our lives towards something that actually brings us more happiness or brings us more peace. There's more to life. There's more to life than most systems will acknowledge. Quote from the book. There must be more. And how do we know this? Well, we know that there's more to life than the systems in the world will acknowledge, simply by acknowledging the fact that when you look up any self-help books, more often than not, they're talking about whether or not you should place the blame on yourself or the world, or whether or not you should feel bad about yourself, or say 10 things nice about yourself every day. Kind of just like emotional back rubs. If we look at the context that we live in which most of these self-help books are mostly trying to just soothe you emotionally, we already noticed that they're sorely missing something that this book is talking about immediately, which is that there's more to life than simply our emotional feeling about it. There is literally this context of life that we exist in. And all of those affect our decision making. So how much of our decision making is really based on these like pleasure-seeking desires that we think that we have, like, oh, I want a boyfriend, oh, I want a girlfriend, oh, I want to eat candy, oh, I want to watch the latest Marvel movie, oh, I want to visit Japan, or I want to visit Europe sometime. There's more to life than just those whimsical decisions that we make and how they make us feel. There's more to life than looking in the mirror and saying 10 vague nice things about yourself to feel good. There's more to life than simply feeling these pleasures. In fact, we are interacting with this type of life all the time. There's something deeper than simply trying to make ourselves feel emotionally okay. There's something deeper. There's more to life than those systems will acknowledge. There must be more. And if there is, then there should be more to me. Again, we look at all these self-help books and most of the self-help pedagogy in life and on YouTube, in the world right now. And with most of them just acknowledging your emotional state and trying to pleasure your emotional state right now, trying to enable your emotional state right now, there's more to life than all these self-help books will admit. Most of these self-help books are mainly looking to validate how you feel about yourself emotionally. But we know there's more to that. There's a larger context that we live in which even those decisions to focus on the self in that way, in which you're just trying to emotionally back rub yourself, there's more to life than those systems will admit. There's more to life than looking in the mirror and saying 10 random good things about yourself. And if there is more to life than that, then there's got to be more to you. We'll talk more about how this context of our life seems to affect our consciousness in more specific terms right after this short break, but only if you remember to pretend that there's a candle in front of your lips that you're trying to not put out. Be right back after this short break. Drained? Depressed? Has the chaos of the world got you feeling confused and apathetic? Even gassy? Feeling like nothing gets you out of this funk? When you're feeling lost in the daily grind, left feeling meaningless, don't touch grass, touch the front of your shins. Feel less tired and more inspired with us on the Best Feeling Podcast. Pal, go on. Best Feeling Podcast and the Best Feeling Network. This is Pal, go on. Welcome back. My name is Herbie. This is Pal, go on. Today's Mover Monday. We are still discussing the relationship between ourselves and ourselves today. I was rereading our book topic today, or the book that is the topic today, which is the Body's Map of Consciousness, Volume 1, Movement. And I was so surprised why I haven't discussed this more often on this show, and I think it will be more of a staple, as it's just such a great book. I was like reading through it. I was like, oh my gosh, this thing just has so much wisdom, so much actionable wisdom, so much wisdom grounded, that's grounded in scientific understanding of our world, and not just platitudes, or like not just nice things to say, but actual technical and scientific approaches to understand the world and ourselves, of course, because we are part of this world that we live in. We're gonna read a little bit more of it because I think it's valuable. And for those of you listening who are seeking a more technical way to go about self-help, or a more technical way towards integrating yourself with yourself and self-actualizing, listen on. So we talked about how Earth's reality gives us this basic design. Time runs one way, life forms become more increasingly complex. Gravity pulls us towards the planet's core. All beings have a gender. All are born and will die. So everything on this planet, and indeed the planet itself, is energy, motion, and the consciousness that drives it. Current physics studies suggest that energy is never still. Energy is always in motion. And every distinguishable thing on Earth, including every distinct body, site, and part, has its own base vibrational note. Its fundamental atomic state is distinct from that of even the most nearby distinct location or feature. Everything distinct having their own vibrational note. You might think of this as how, like, when you pluck an A string, for example, on a stringed instrument, another instrument's A string will vibrate faintly in response. If the second instrument's A string is plucked intentionally along with the first, the note is amplified, increased, louder, stronger. If a finger is placed on a certain site on the fingerboard, you may hear a pleasing or a harmonic combination of tones, or a not so pleasing one, which is dissonant. Now think of a food you like and consider how the taste is amplified by certain other foods. Complemented by yet others and canceled out by yet others. And think of the color wheel, with tones that can complement each other or clash. We notice these principles everywhere in life, as the book is describing. The principle is the same, though the medium, the form of the energy whose vibrational note is being responded to, is different. When we speak of consciousness, movement, and energy interacting with each other, we are describing exactly these same universal earthly principles of vibration, harmony and disharmony, resonance and dissonance. That's what I love about this book, is that it's talking about universal concepts. It's not talking about like you particularly and how you should like feel better about yourself because, hey, you really give it a fair shot. You should feel better about or you deserve to not have these bad feelings about yourself because you exist. You deserve to feel better about yourself because you rock. Just very like shallow surface level, like, oh, thank you. Just like someone reading a book to kind of like I don't want to say the word, but like, you know, to like rub themselves while they read this book. I love this book because it's not that. It's not just like a book you pick up and you're like, I need something to tell me how great I am. You know, this book is like talking about an overall theme or an overall, it's talking about universal principles that we necessarily exist in. And so we can learn how to leverage these principles if we find them to be true. So it continues. In other words, emotions have intrinsic harmonic relation to particular body sites, mental constructs, and all other simple or complex aspects of human existence. So let's talk about how. Let's bring it back a little bit. Before that, it talks about to bring this to the realm of your human system. It's talking about these universal earthly principles of like the vibration of like the note being hit, or like how foods are complementing one another, or even how colors complement one another. To bring this to the realm of your human system, it can be felt that the bone vibrates, moves at a different frequency than fluid does. Nerves vibrate differently from connective tissue. Just like this, we're talking about like the A string, or like how, you know, your complementary foods, your complementary colors. Thoughts even operate at a different level than nerves or connective tissue. And thoughts even operate on a different vibrational spectrum than do emotions. Just as in music, different octaves have the same notes, such that some clash, some blend, and some complement without blending or clashing. So too, different tissues, thoughts, and feelings also blend, clash, or contrast for highlights and emphasis within the body. So in other words, emotions have intrinsic harmonic relations to particular body sites, mental constructs, and all other simple or complex aspects of human existence. This is how the body's map works. I'm leaving out some of it that would be best to go into detail or perhaps in your own reading. But to get the gist of it, this is basically how the body's map works, is that everything in this world operates by these principles. This book is courageous enough and convicted in its belief enough to be able to make these large statements, because they are large statements that fundamentally are true, evidently true. The fact that we do live in this context where time runs one way, beings become increasingly more complex. All beings have gender. All beings are born and then will die. This vibrational principle that we see in music, with some notes causing other notes to become more harmonious, dissonant, or maybe louder or amplified. With anything that's sharing that similar vibration. Even food kind of has this vibration in which some foods will complement or become dissonant with other foods. How even in the color wheel, we see even colors. Some of them are harmonious with one another and some are dissonant, and we use those to our advantage, but we know that those vibrational relationships exist in all scopes and all aspects of our experience, which is what we're demonstrating here with even in music, even in food, even in colors. Seemingly unrelated things in life are operating on the same principle. And in the same way, our bodies operate in the same principle, where we have many scopes of our experience. We have like muscular tissue, we got nerves, we got bones, we got emotions, we got thoughts. And yet they are all part of our human experience, and they are all located within the body, vibrating at their own unique and distinct levels. They have their own vibrational spectrums. Although your thoughts and beliefs and emotions, we don't normally associate those with like tangible things that you can see outside in the world. You can't like touch those in the outside world. They are still existent and on their own vibrational spectrum within the body. Excuse me. Got gassy. That's on another vibrational spectrum. So let's talk about one of these examples that kind of like grounds this book like immediately from the beginning. One of the first examples that they use to get us to become a little bit more acutely aware of this idea that the body, the entire human experience has, the entire human experience at every level, whether it's physical, emotional, or mental, has their home and has their vibrational state present and affecting the body. And we might be skeptical of this at first. Of course, I was skeptical of it. When I was first reading this book, I was just looking for like, how do you breathe? What muscles do I use to breathe? And then I kind of, little did I know, I stumbled upon like this incredible book that was so comprehensive and so all encompassing of the entire human experience. So let's talk about one of the first examples that the authors used to illustrate this concept and to get you involved wherever you are, whether you are sitting in a coffee shop or whether you are at home or whether you're relaxing or whether you're hard at work. Let's use one of these examples to first get us into the pattern of noticing ourselves on this level. Noticing that every part of the human experience has its locale, has its home in your body. Again, as we talk about in Padawan all the time, how do you know you're experiencing depression? How do you know if you're experiencing happiness? How do you know if you feel fatigue? Well, all of these have a physical component that we feel in the body. So let's start with one of these examples. So in this book, she talks about, well, I don't know the sex of the person speaking, but the authors talk about how they go to one of these integrated awareness or one of these body mapping sessions with a group and a guide in this group. And one thing we want to say here, to quote the book, is we were told that the left side of the body resonates with the female essence and the right with the male. And here we go. Here's the example. We were asked to cover the eye corresponding to our gender with the hand on the same side of that. And then the eye associated with the opposite sex with the hand that we had just used. So if you are a female, the guided practice, the guided exploration was saying, if you're a female, because the left half of your body resonates with the female and the right half of your body resonates with the male, if you're a female, try covering your left eye, which should be the one associated with female, with your same side eye, the left eye, or with your same side of the hand, the left hand. And then the next instruction would be to cover the opposite eye. So if you're a female, the right eye now, but still with that same left hand. And first, they just went along with the instruction, just to kind of humor your friends or whoever brought you there. But you might discover sensations and differences that you had no idea existed. First of all, you might be able to detect more of a difference between your eyes than you might have initially thought. We might kind of just see our body as just like this like big stump. We might just view our body as like this whole body bag where there's not really any differences in any different parts of the body. But you might notice when you take this exercise, if you might try it right now, try along with me, to cover the same sex eye. So if you're a male, you want to cover the right eye with that same side hand. And observe your sense of self. Observe the sensations that might arise. Observe any differences that you might notice. And then you might want to try to cover the opposite sex eye. So if you're a male, now we're switching from the right to the left eye, but still using that same right hand, which is associated with your sex for if you're a male on the right side. And as we observe our sense of self, we might notice certain sensations and distinctions that might arise in us. Now, here's the instruction to do the same process with the other hand. So if you're a male, you'd switch to using your left hand, or if you're a female, now you'd switch to using your right hand. You want to cover the sex that you are. So if you're a male, your right eye. If you're a female, your left eye. You want to cover that eye with now the other hand that you weren't using. So for me, I'm going to switch to my left hand, and I'm going to cover my right eye. And then observe my sense of self. Notice any differences or distinctions that I might feel in myself arise. And then I would cover my left eye now, using this other hand instead of the right hand that I was using in my previous example. And notice any sensations that might arise in you. Now, we might think of ourselves as covering one or the other, but another way you can look at it is that you are acknowledging the presence of one with your hand. So where your hand goes, your attention might go. So you might be sitting here acknowledging how we feel according to which eye that we're covering and which hand we're using. And so we'll read more from the book. It says, I'll say that, or the book says, Then came the instruction to do the same process with the other hand, in my case, the right hand, the one associated with male. Okay, so this is a female. I was totally stunned when I covered my left eye with my right hand. Everything went dark. There was absolutely no sensation or awareness of self in this configuration. I immediately raised my hand and asked, "How could this be?" The instructor's gentle answer was to ask if I was surprised that I disappear and completely devalue myself when I am observed as female from my recordings and projections of male perspective. Again, the instructor's gentle answer was to ask if I was surprised that I disappear and completely devalue myself when I am observed as female, so her using her female hand, her left hand, and projections of male perspective. She was captivated. She was captivated. As in the left hand that she was using to observe herself was being used to observe how she felt about her male side or her male projections of herself. And from her female perspective, looking at herself from the projections of a male perspective, she noticed that she completely devalued or disappeared. I know it seems a little like kind of confusing as we are kind of switching from male to female, but we could think about it this way: if your right side of your body is male, including your eyes, well, if the right side of your body, I know that there's some switch with the eyes, but if the right side of your body is being used to observe the left side, you might, one way we could put it is like your masculine side would then be observing yourself from a masculine point of view, but observing how you feel from a female point of view. I know. Kind of like this way and that way, but it'll become more clear if we as we continue moving forward. So, what we're talking about here, what this example is kind of beginning to demonstrate, which is much more easier felt as you provide yourself with these examples or as you participate in these examples, is that your body's not random. There are parts of your body that vibrate or that resonate with certain parts of your human experience. And one of the groundworks that we can lay to begin to understand this from a basic point of view, or from the early stages, we can start off by talking about how the right side of the body is associated with like the male resonances, the left side of the body being associated with the female resonances. And you might say, this seems so random. How come the left side is female? How come the right side is male? Well, just like everything else, it's going off of a physical reality. As we might notice that our heart, everybody's heart, is offset ever so slightly to the left. And so the rest of the body tends to construct itself in a way that's most beneficial for itself. Over the course of thousands of years of development, hundreds of thousands, billions of years of development, our bodies learn to form themselves or to construct themselves in such a way where the resonances would be beneficial to yourself. So if your heart is on the left side, as it is for everybody, as this book talks about universal truths and not basic platitudes, aka things to just nice things to say, quote unquote. Well, then the side of your body that resonates most with the female spirit, the female resonance being the power behind taking care of the self. The left half of the body tends to be resonating with the female as your heart exists there. The heart of your living soul, the heart of your being, everything that you are, your life force itself. The female aspect of the human experience resonates with the left side of your body. The self-nurturing side of your spirit resonates with the left side of your body, as we are holding the literally the heart of your body, the most, I don't know, I can't even think of like a better word for it, because we use the heart to describe the heart of other things, because it is so deeply ingrained into the way that we understand reality itself, that we understand the heart is the heart. The heart is like the main thing you should protect in life, right? Like the heart is, without the heart, there is nothing of anything, right? We talk about the heart being like the soul. See, it's so difficult to describe it, because we use our body to describe the reality that we see around us, not the other way around. We use our own human experience to describe the entire reality that we experience, which only gives more evidence to the fact that our bodies themselves are not random, but actually are constructed in such a way that we learn to perceive better and better to understand the rest of the world. The fact that humans made it this far, the fact that humans are the way they are, is because of the way that we are constructed. So the body's arrangement of itself, its postural arrangement of itself, and the way that it was constructed by our design, we did not choose that our heart is on the left side of our body, but yet there it is. And we know the heart is like the freaking thing that's important. It is what gives life to us. It is that thing that you got to protect. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it is the thing. All right. We'll be right back to talk more about that. The fact that our body is not random. But the fact that our body is left side resonating with the female side, the right side resonating with the male side. And that's not just out of sheer coincidence, but out of the way our body's constructed. As the female part, the female spirit is concerned with concerned with nurturing the self. Of course, the left side of the body would be resonant with female, as that is where our most vital organ is. All right, we'll be right back after this short break to read a little bit more of the book and to use some good old body magic just to feel good again. We'll be right back. we have a recommended book reading list. If you feel like you have a hard time understanding yourself at this stage in your life, check out No More Mr. Nice Guy by Robert A. Glover. It's an aggressive title, but a very meaningful book when it comes to understanding the self, both men and women, masculinity and femininity. So you'll see it first in yourself, then throughout the world, so it brings peace through understanding. Do you suffer from mental illness that you want to actually do something about? Or do you just want to be able to change your patterns and behaviors in life? Check out that book with the girl with holding her hand up. It's an amazing book. The Body's Map of Consciousness, Volume 1, Movement, by Lansing, Barrett, Gresham, and Julie J. Nichols. Do you have body or neck aches throughout the day or throughout the night? And gone to chiropractors and just been frustrated with not being able to get a permanent fix? Check out the purple book, The Structures and Movement of Breathing, by Barbara Conable, and Anatomy of the Voice by Theodore Dimon for a more detailed look. Compare that book on the left and take charge in getting your relief back. All these books are highly recommended and pretty short and just freaking phenomenal books. Beyond impressive, incredible, ridiculous, awesome, stupendous, prodigious. Welcome back to the Best Feeling Podcast and the Best Feeling Network, your only no-nonsense podcast with your host, Herbie. Welcome back. I'm almost out of time, so I did want to get through and kind of clear up any I wanted to demystify what we were talking about in that example where we were covering our eyes we were covering each of our eyes one at a time, one of each, with each of our hands. So there'd be 4 placements of each, right? Right onto your right eye, right hand onto the left eye, and then left hand onto the left eye, and then left hand onto the right eye. I wanted to talk a little bit more about the example that they gave and the experience that the author had when she, as a woman, was covering her left eye with her right hand. What she's doing is observing herself as a female, but using the projections or the ideas of, or the perceptions of what she believed a male was like, or what she knew and her projections about a male experience. She was using that with her right hand to observe herself as a female by observing her left eye, by covering her left eye, by touching her left eye, using touch to observe her left eye, her female self, using her male self or using her projections of a male self, observing herself as a female. So you might be thinking, or it might be like thinking how am I observed when I'm seen as a female by a male? And of course, all of these are dependent on how her internal body has awareness of all of those things. So it's not like she's going to be drawing upon a pantheon of knowledge, accessible only through the internet or something, but rather her own experiences of her own life. How does she feel about herself when viewing herself as a female from a male perspective of what she understands of those of both? And to follow the same pattern or to follow the same principle, if you were to use your left hand, you would be observing as a female or your understandings of a female, and then you'd be observing yourself as either your male presence or your male energy, which would be observing and touching and covering your right eye, or your female energy, or how you would be observed if you were a female, because we all have aspects of both of those in ourselves, right? So your hand would be the observer, and the eye that you're touching to cover it would be how you'd be perceived. So there are cases in our lives where you look at people more particularly like a male, if you're working together, providing some kind of service to others, or you're working together to get some kind of job done. Oftentimes we see each other not like males, oh, suddenly they're a male now, but there are certain parts of the male essence that we are choosing to see them as. If you're married, or if you're taken, or if you're not looking for a relationship, you it's much easier to switch between these. Like if you're working with your coworkers, you might often see them as like their male aspect, which is like the male aspect is more like concerned with like how they're affecting the outside world of physical things. But if you are speaking more nurturally, if you're speaking more about human emotions and how people are doing, or what their emotional state is like, or how their spiritual state is like from the inside out, you tend to be looking at them in a more female sense, not like penis or vagina, but whether they are looking inwards towards their inner state, their emotional state of being, or not. Like, as you know, the male aspect is more concerned with like how our bodies are affecting the world, and then the female spirit of our own experience is more concerned about how we are being affected on the inside. And so when we're speaking more about comforting one another, or speaking to understand each other on like an emotional aspect, we tend to be speaking to each other and observing ourselves as female. Whereas if we're speaking about like how they're doing or what they're doing to the outside world, we tend to be speaking to each other in a male spirit. Not that you can't have one or the other, but rather we are both, and we exhibit more alignment towards one or the other depending on what we're focusing on at a time. And so I don't have much time today. We're going to be revisiting this for sure, as we need to unwrap this book and just go along with the book this entire in the future. What we wanted to start off with is what's wrong with my words today? I think I'm just so excited. You know, these are big concepts, but like, yeah. I wanted to talk about how to digest this and how to begin using this example in like a constructive way, using this exercise. So the book goes to talk about how the human body is such an extraordinarily intricate set of overlapping, interwoven, and even competing frequencies that sorting through them can feel overwhelming. Yet this stunningly complex reality is exactly the background and foundation upon which every human infant must build its construct of reality. And everyone has multiple capacities for perceiving those resonances at all times, as I was saying. And the book continues. It begins with simply acknowledging what you feel. Yes, I feel good. Like fluid, easy, congruent, available in a relaxed but alert way. Or, no, things don't feel right. They feel dissonant. Or, something's off, not resonant with you or with other factors in the environment. Or, sometimes we feel like this is miraculous. Like it's uncommonly resonant to the point of oneness or pure good feeling. So, I want you to try this exercise. Try covering one eye with one hand, and then using that same hand to cover the other eye. And then to complete the practice, I want you to try covering one eye with the other hand, and then using that same hand to cover the other eye. And you might be like, okay, well, I just like cover these and then look around? Well, how we're going to use this is that when you are going through one of the phases, covering one eye with one of the hands, one way we can begin using this exercise is we might observe our sense of self and just simply acknowledge what you feel when you partake in covering one of the eyes. Just acknowledge what you feel. And we gave you a little bit of vocabulary to put into language what you're feeling. Again, it's like, yes, I feel good, like in a congruent way, or no, things don't feel right, or something's off, or actually this is miraculous. And so using those 4 different descriptions, I want you to try this eye covering exercise. I want you to try this eye covering exercise. I want you to use the hand that is associated with your sex. So if you're female, that's the left hand. If you're male, it's the right hand. And I want you to cover the eye that exists on that same side and just observe your sense of self. Does it feel good? Does it feel not good? Does something feel off, or does something feel miraculous? You might take some time to yourself. Give yourself some privacy. Turn the phone off. Just spend a couple minutes just trying this. And then when you're done observing one hand covering one eye, that same side eye, I want you to switch and cover the opposite eye with that same hand. And then continue this exercise using the opposite hand. Knowing what we know about the sex resonances that exist within every body, I want you to just observe your sense of self as you begin the eye covering exercise. And just look for just as you observe your sense of self, just note of any distinctions, note of any distinguishable effects they might have on your body and how you're feeling as you ask yourself those questions. Do you feel good? Do you not feel good? Does something just feel off? Or does something feel actually more resonant and like miraculous? I want you to try this throughout the week. Let me know how you feel in the comments. Let me know if this is nothing to you. Let me know if this is something that you were seeking. Let me know if you find any resonances that feel different when you do this exercise. Let me know how it might feel. Be sure to subscribe, follow, hit the bell, do all this YouTube great stuff so we can continue this conversation. Very excited to begin this conversation. It feels like a revamp. It feels like a revival, as we will definitely be using this book more often. As it is one of the books that laid the groundwork towards us finding more of a meaning in life, more of an ability to change our behavior and feel so good from the inside out and actually inch closer and closer towards our authenticity, self-actualization. So if that sounds like something that's right for you, be sure to like, be sure to subscribe, be sure to join us again tomorrow on a True Love Tuesday, where we will be talking about the relationship between the two sexes. We will be talking about this book most likely on Mover Mondays. This seems like maybe this is like the groundwork for Padawan on Mover Mondays. But yeah, give that a shot. Give that exercise a shot. If that's something that seems like it's calling to you, something that you've been searching for. If you've been kind of feeling like in a slump or feeling like disconnected from the body or your life or feeling like unfulfilled in your life, give that a shot. Give that eye covering exercise a shot. Report back here and let me know how you feel. Let me know if you feel any differences in resonances arise depending on which eye you cover and how you might describe those. Looking forward to hearing all of your guys' statements. Looking forward to hearing all of you guys' responses. Thank you so much for being here. Really do appreciate you. I had a great time sharing about my experience and how confused I was about this at first and how I was looking really just a way to fix my sleep apnea and then stumbled upon something that felt more monumental. Though I did eventually find a way to fix my sleep apnea, I was very confused by this book, but also very intrigued to know that, I always felt like the body had more to it than we were talking about in common conversation in society. I always felt like the body had more. And to know that the body is not random, and furthermore, to know about what exploration has already been done to discover what parts of the body resonate with what parts of our experience in life, it completely intrigued me, just blew me away. So let me know how you feel about this exercise. Let me know in the comments if you notice any differences in resonances that you notice arise in your sense of self during this eye covering exercise. Today we also talked about how the right half of the body is resonates with the male spirit, and the left half of your body resonates with the female spirit. And lastly, to recap all the way from the beginning, we did talk about how we live in this giant context of time running one way, beings becoming more complex as time goes on, how all beings have a sex, and how all beings were born and will die. Some fundamental truths that ground our reality itself. Thank you so much for being here. We'll talk more tomorrow. Join us tomorrow on True Love Tuesday. This has been the Best Feeling Podcast and the Best Feeling Network. Your only no nonsense podcast, as we are feeling so good from the inside out, better than your morning would feel without using our sense of the world to make sense of the world. Thank you guys for being here. My name is Herbie, and this is Padawan. This was Padawan. This has been Padawan. We'll see you tomorrow.